Hi! I'm so excited to be here with you for another weekly update and horoscope video. Where do you have Sagittarius in your chart? Where do you have Gemini? And where do you have Aries? Those are going to be the major players of this week because we have a full moon in Gemini on Thursday. We are in Sagittarius season. Mars is in Sagittarius. Mars is going to harmonize with Chiron and Aries this week. We're going to have a lot activate Chiron and Aries as well. This is really going to be a week of finalizing any further healing that we've been doing around wounds and triggers connected to an old sense of self and old identity that we are stepping away from, that we have been stepping away from for the past 6 or 7 years, but it's all kind of coming to a head this week. And it really is the final chapter of closing out as we end 2025 and as we head into the last month of the year. Insane. I'm so looking forward to doing my 2026 update video. If you saw my most recent posted video to my channel, I talked about it in there. I'll be doing horoscopes for each sign for 2026, just general overviews. And in my Inner Circle membership, I'll be doing a deep dive into every single month of 2026, and I'll be scheduling that in the membership soon. So if you're already inside the membership, look for that in the upcoming events part of the membership. It's also where I host these live streams for the weekly horoscopes every week, and you get to be a part of them if you're in the membership and watching them while I'm doing them live inside the community. So yeah, really looking forward to all of those things. I'm so excited about 2026 and just all of the shifts that we're experiencing right now that are leading up to big change and new beginnings come the year ahead. So is there anything else I want to say about this week ahead before we head into it? Mercury is now direct. Mercury is out of retrograde. You might be feeling that where you have Scorpio in your chart. There's a lot behind the scenes. Like I said, Sagittarius, Gemini, and Aries are the major players this week, but there's a lot going on behind the scenes, and there has been for several weeks, if not months at this point, with everything that we have in water signs. So where is water in your chart? What houses do they rule for you in your birth chart? Those are also major players, but they have been for weeks. So that's kind of like an energy that is just continuing. It's not new, but now that Mercury is out of retrograde, we are kind of externalizing what we've been reflecting on and what we've been refining about our inner world and the inner transformation that the inner work and transformation we've been focused on really we're focused on all of November. It's kind of like this fog is lifting and we've gotten a lot more clarity on what is still kind of there within us that might be has been needing our attention to look at, to love, to shift, to feel and heal in order to really step into this new chapter with nothing from the past left behind. And I just saw 333 on the timer. So that might be a message for somebody out there. But yeah, lots still feeling things going on. But now that Saturn is direct and Mercury is direct, there's kind of this focus to externalize what we reflected on about our inner world that needs transformed, that needs more love and attention and healing and feeling. It's so fun to rhyme with these things like effortlessly. So that's also going to be a theme of this week, especially right after the full moon we have in Gemini. It's going to move into Cancer and add some oomph to the other water transits we have going on right now: Saturn, Neptune, Jupiter, and Mercury. And then we start the week off with the moon over Chiron. So there could be, at the start of the week, further things getting triggered, further things getting brought up about our old sense of self that we are just really moving on from. And that's why I titled this video what I did, because it really is putting an end to the old cycles once and for all related to our identity, that the identity we've had that just doesn't serve us anymore. It's like this big cleanup in our sense of self, and how we're initiating and how we're taking action and how we're moving forward in our lives. This is why I've been talking a lot more about human design lately, because things aren't clear right now. The North Node's in Pisces. We have to really flow, and we have to really take it day by day in terms of making major decisions. And really, the only thing we have within us is to trust is our inner guidance system, is your human design authority. So highly recommend learning about your human design authority and learning how to live it, because human design, kind of different from astrology, is meant to be lived in your day to day. It's meant to be experimented with. And it tells you about your inner guidance system. It's literally like your user manual for your life and your energy, and how to move through life in alignment with your energy, your potential, and your purpose. And so important now more than ever to really learn your user manual in order to have confidence in your decisions and just have something to guide you through the waters that we're all still swimming right now before Saturn and Neptune go into Aries and before Jupiter goes direct. I feel February is going to be that kind of go time of forward momentum. And while we'll have little moments of that leading up to February, I think February is really going to be this big push towards the new and what we're building in our lives. Also in 2026, we have the nodes shifting. So the eclipses are shifting. And eclipses are bad. I plan to do a whole video on this. I realized this last night. I was like, couldn't sleep and had this idea to talk about eclipses because they really rule the general theme and season of change that we're all in as a collective, and that's what the nodes represent as well. And eclipses are just intensified periods to move in and release, to move in a new direction and release what's kind of holding you back from moving in that direction, because the eclipses involve the nodes, and the nodes are the collective season of life that we are in as a society. So anyways, is there anything else I want to say? Oh, we're halfway through the nodes being in Pisces and Virgo. So that feels significant as well at this time. And this week we're going to have the sun challenging the nodes, and the full moon in Gemini will challenge the nodes. So it's a big push to really, again, like I said, further release anything that has been standing in your way of aligning with what you want and what you're moving towards. So that's this week. Without further ado, let's get into the horoscopes. We're going to start with Aries. So Aries Rising, we start the week off with the moon on Chiron in your area of you. This could really propel some emotional healing around an old identity, sense of self that has been healing, that you've been focused on changing, evolving your sense of self, your appearance, identity in some way. This could also ripple out into every other area of your life. Now that Venus is in your area of perspective and of how you're viewing the world around you, there might be a lot of big shifts around that as well this week, especially at the start of the week. There could be like this whole, like a fog is lifting and you're really seeing things differently than you have been. Monday into Tuesday, there could be some shift around your money, some shift around your community, your friend groups related to money in some way, maybe related to the perspective shift that you're experiencing. The middle of the week, there's a lot of focus on maybe cleanup with money or finances, possessions in some way. And then on Wednesday, there could be a big change around that. There could be some, maybe you've been doing a lot of mindset work on money and resources, investments, things like that with the Mercury retrograde. And so there could be this kind of revelation moment around that and what you want to change about it on Wednesday. As we get into Thursday, the full moon we have in Gemini is in your area of day-to-day travel, of who you're talking to, where you're going on a daily basis. So there could be some revelations that happen around that, or changes you want to make, again, related to these perspective shifts that are occurring for you, and really choosing to see the world differently, choosing to see your life differently. And it feels like all kind of related to that. There could be more epiphanies with this full moon around maybe your communication style, stories you're telling yourself, and what needs further release so that you can really step into the new direction that has been calling you. Friday, there could be something triggering that comes up around that, but it also feels like it is kind of this further step you need in order to heal these wounds and triggers that have been occurring and coming up for you in your sense of self. There could also be a revelation about something emotionally that needs released. That's on Friday. And then later on Friday and into Saturday, you're going to be emotionally focused on your home, your family. Again, maybe really like whatever has been coming up all week, you really take it internally over the weekend. Maybe you hermit or just really look at things with a new eye on like, okay, how can I reframe this? What about this is still affecting me in ways that I don't want it to be? It's really kind of like over the weekend, this inner time for yourself. Maybe again, like I said, going into hermit mode or focusing on your home or family, childhood dynamics, things like that. It's really this time of inner healing as we get into the weekend for you. And yeah, that could further propel you into some big shifts related to subconscious wounds, past life stuff, maybe even, and then affecting your view of life. It feels like you're really focused on seeing the world, seeing your life differently right now, so you can align with what you want instead of what you don't. So that's the week ahead for you, Aries. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Okay, Taurus Rising. We start the week off with the moon in your area of subconscious. So there might be some emotional wounds that are brought up that maybe you didn't realize were still there within your inner self or your subconscious. It's a lot of like subconscious healing that's happening at the start of the week for you. And then it feels like as we get into later on Monday and into Tuesday, there's like this renewal emotionally towards your sense of self, and maybe really integrating and embodying these changes you realized you want to make, or things you need to heal, or these triggers or wounds that are being brought up. You're learning to approach them differently. And so there's an integration of that as we get into the middle of the week. On Wednesday, especially, there could be this big emotional breakthrough as it relates to that, maybe related to the identity shift you've been in, and maybe relationship stuff that you reevaluated in November with the Mercury retrograde. There's kind of like this maybe emotional epiphany or breakthrough insights related to you and your relationships on Wednesday. As we get into Thursday, we have the full moon in Gemini in your area of money. There could be some revelations about money that you're realizing, or things you maybe have been doing with money over the past 6 months that really come to fruition this week with this full moon on Thursday. That really is kind of like this more breakthrough energy, more epiphany energy of like, okay, actually, I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to be moving in this direction. This is what I want to do. And maybe starting to share that, taking action towards it if you haven't already, or if you have been taking action towards whatever this thing is. It's kind of like it all comes to fruition, and you kind of, there's a manifestation, there's a culmination of the energy. It might also bring up maybe some further beliefs about money or resources that were hindering your growth in this area as well. As we get into Friday, there could be some tension emotionally between being able to take action on what you realized you want to do with resources, with money, and this pull towards some kind of responsibility with money or something like that. It could feel like there's maybe challenges with your friendship, your community, your network, maybe social media. And so the release of that is kind of like, okay, what kind of plan can you make, or what kind of system can you put in place to not have these challenges or these conflicts repeat in the same way, and so that it's kind of all smooth sailing from here. It's kind of showing you maybe where there's a chance for refinement in terms of like the roadblocks, so that it doesn't keep happening. Later on Friday and into Saturday, the moon moves into your area of day-to-day routines and errands, travel. So you could be focused on really like what is going to help you in your day-to-day nurture yourself through all these changes, and nurture yourself through all of these big moments of feeling that are coming up, these big moments of healing that are coming up, maybe within your relationships as well. It's kind of like what relationships are nurturing you versus ones which are not, and really focusing on the ones that feel nourishing, the ones that feel supportive, and maybe spending time with those people over the weekend to really integrate everything that's come up all week. because there could be something on Sunday that maybe triggers you further to have some sort of emotional cleanse. And it's going to help you and support you to have the right people around you that are going to be able to support you through that and nurture you through that in the ways that you need to further integrate what comes up. So that's your week ahead, Taurus. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Hi, Gemini Rising. We start the week off with the moon on Chiron in your area of community and friendships, long-term goals and visions as well. There might be a lot of wounds or triggers that are coming up at the start of the week in order for you to look at maybe what needs changed about your long-term goals, visions, or who you're spending time around. This could also be social media. There could be something that you're kind of like triggered to take action on, and there's emotional drive to change something about a relationship or a friendship that you get clarity around through whatever within you is being triggered as we start out the week. Monday and into Tuesday, it feels like you're going to be taking whatever came up for you internally to look at it, to focus on it. It's kind of like this illumination of your subconscious, maybe past life stuff, and really your inner world and what needs maybe some further nourishment or nurturance, support there in order to really integrate and embody these themes that you're experiencing so that they don't keep repeating in the same way and triggering this old version of yourself to kind of pop back up. It's like, how can I use this as fuel to really step into and nurture the new version of me that I'm stepping into? There could be a breakthrough or revelation around that on Wednesday, maybe related to what came up during Mercury retrograde for you most of November and what you were kind of reevaluating and refining, maybe related to balancing your mental and physical health, taking care of your physical health through routines and nutrition, maybe also how that's impacting your work and maybe what changes you need to be making there or what to make. It feels like there's a lot of clarity that comes with this on Wednesday. And then that leads us into the full moon we have on Thursday in your area of you, in your area of your sense of self. So there's this big illumination of you, maybe related to your relationships, who you're spending time around versus who you want to be spending time around, and maybe really culminating all of that into this new version of yourself that has been building over the last 6 months, and really kind of feeling like with this full moon, a new version of you, which is really exciting, but also kind of scary. And then as we get into Friday, there could be some emotional tension between that, what's changing about you and what's maybe calling for your attention in your relationships. There could also be some sort of conflict or challenge between a relationship, whether that's romantic or a coworker or whoever. Somebody in your life, there could be a challenge or conflict between someone in your life and what's going on in your career and what you're kind of building there, maybe even related to the new direction that you're stepping into as it relates to what you're doing for work and career, and it's all tied into this new identity that you're integrating as well. Later on Friday and into the weekend, your emotional focus is on your money. Maybe cleaning up that. And I think everything that's kind of occurred this week is really showing you maybe what changes you want to make to your work and further integrating those things about your money and your career and your day-to-day stuff for work that's making you money, like what you want to change about it. I feel like you've done a lot of reflecting and refining with Mercury retrograde, and now it's time to take action on what you realized you want to change. And there's a big focus on that over the weekend, especially on Sunday. There could be some big thing you get clarity about as it relates to that, and realize you need to take action on, but it could also, again, trigger those identity wounds that you're still working through. So that is the week ahead for you, Gemini. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Hi, Cancer Rising. We start the week off with the moon in your area of career and public reputation. So there could be something that is emotionally triggering for you on Monday, maybe related to how you're viewed in your career, how you're viewed to the world. But that could also propel something to be taken action on as it relates to work, and maybe what you're changing about that and what you're getting a lot of clarity and realizations about as you're making those changes as well. Later on Monday and into Tuesday, the focus is on your community. The focus is on your friendships, maybe the people you have around you. There could be something earlier on Tuesday that you're kind of challenged or propelled into an evolution around, maybe as it relates to your long-term goals and visions and resources, money, kind of what you want to do with all of those things moving forward. It feels like maybe this is related to some clarity you got during the Mercury retrograde about your creative projects or passions or dating. There could be a revelation that comes up around that on Wednesday, and maybe something about your long-term goals with money, or something that maybe needs to change or maybe needs to be innovated in some way. And again, it's like you reflected on this all of November, and now it's time to really move forward with what you realized you want to change, and really implementing those things, because it's going to support the expansion of yourself, of your you, literally you, and every other part of your life as well. As we get into Thursday, we have the full moon in Gemini in your area of subconscious, of past lives as well. So there could be some stuff coming up that you maybe was coming up over the summer, about past life stuff, or like subconscious beliefs that are ingrained in you from childhood or whatever the case may be. It's kind of like you're getting clarity on what about your communication style, like to yourself, and like in like your mindset, what really needs to shift there. So there's this illumination of that on Thursday, as it relates to what you're doing to make changes to your work or your physical health, or both, in light of everything you're learning, and realizing you want to move forward with. As we get into Friday, there could be tension between what's going on in your work and the changes you're making there, maybe even physical health, like feeling low energy. Maybe it's just because you're not excited to do what you once were excited to do for work or on a daily basis, and it's kind of like there's something that needs to change, and it's kind of all coming to light right now so that you act on it. But it could feel like this kind of tug of war, on Friday, between your ability to do that and maybe what emotionally is pulling you to focus on as well and look at within yourself. Later on Friday and into Saturday, the moon moves into your area of you. So there's this emotional renewal of you, of how you're supporting yourself. Again, maybe you got a lot of clarity this week on what you need to change about your life in order to feel more supported and expanded, to feel more nurtured, to feel more like you're able to really care for and nurture yourself and support yourself in the ways that you need. And we're especially going to feel like you're especially going to get clarity around that on Sunday, as the moon adds its energy to all that's going on with water signs, that was going on with Mercury retrograde, that's going on with Saturn and Pisces. It's kind of like this big culmination of maybe a breakthrough, of maybe this emotional drive to really do and act on what you're realizing about your life that you want to change, so you can further support yourself and your expansion moving forward. That's the week ahead for you, Cancer Rising. Let me know how it resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. I haven't had my laptop plugged in this whole time. Hi, Leo Rising. We start the week off with the moon in your area of perspective of how you view life. So there could be something on Monday that really gets emotionally triggered about how you're viewing life. This could also relate to legal matters, if that applies, or international affairs, something like that. There could be something emotionally that really gets triggered within you, a deep wound around your identity. And then later on Monday and into Tuesday, it feels like there's challenges and conflict with that in your career, maybe related to a relationship or somebody in your life. There's kind of like this conflict between where you're emotionally focused in your career, maybe some emotional tie to something in your career, and what's going on with a person in your life. As we get into Tuesday, there could be a push and pull between your career, what's going on there, and what's going on with your home. I mean, there's a huge focus. I feel like I've been saying this for you for weeks, Leo. Is there's a huge focus on your internal world right now. On maybe you reflected a lot during the Mercury retrograde in November on your inner world, your childhood, your home, your family, and what changes you want to make there. And it's kind of all culminating this week. But on Tuesday, it feels like there could be some tension between that and what's going on in your work or career. But I do feel as we get into Wednesday, there is some sort of breakthrough that happens with that, and some sort of realization on Wednesday of a change you want to make emotionally with what's going on in your career. Maybe you're reevaluating a change that you want to make to, just how you want to be seen, like your legacy that you're building, and how that's bringing in money for you. This is all really tied together. And it's really about, are you doing what you want to be doing? And if not, what changes do you need to make in order to align yourself with what you actually want? As we get into Thursday, we have a full moon in Gemini in your area of long-term goals. So there could be something that you get revelations around that kind of is this culmination, this illumination of a goal or something, an intention you set about 6 months ago, maybe something over the summer related to this area of your life, related to community or network or long-term goals and visions. And it feels like it's all kind of culminating as we end out this week, and you're making the necessary changes you're realizing you want to make to just clean up your life and clean up your inner world, so that you have those changes that you want reflected in your external world. And you're realizing it all comes down to you and like what's going on inside of yourself, and maybe needing to nurture yourself in new ways and nurture these wounds or whatever it is that you're realizing are still kind of there within you, to change into just focus on the future instead of like being bogged down by the cycles of the past. As we get into Friday, there could be tension between your long-term goals, visions, what's changing there, and maybe a uh, creative project, passion project, maybe even dating or romance too, as it applies. There's a big focus in your romance and dating area. So there could be something that on Friday puts tension emotionally between that and what's going on in your community or with social media, your long-term goals, visions. It could feel like there's friction building there. But I do feel as we get later into Friday and into the weekend, there's this going within to process everything that came up in the week. And then it's kind of like making the moves, planning, realizing what you want to do, realizing how you want to move forward based on what came to light this week, that you're like, okay, I don't want to repeat that. I don't want that to keep happening. Like, what can I do about this within myself to shift it? So that it shifts how I experience it on the external world. This could be related to money or resources in some way as well. But I do feel like over the weekend, it's like you're taking all this internally to look at it in new ways and shift what is there underneath the surface. As we get into Saturday and Sunday, especially because the moon will be adding its magic to all that we have going on in water signs. Mercury now direct, Saturn now direct. There's this big focus on just reflection and going within to make necessary changes in order to support yourself to have, like I keep saying, the external changes you want as well. So that's the week ahead for you, Leo. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Hi, Virgo Rising. We start your week off with the moon moving over Chiron in your area of resources. I believe I mentioned this last week for you towards the end of the week. Maybe today there's been things coming up about resources, about money. Maybe things are getting kind of triggered about that within yourself, and there's this further release, emotional release of an old identity as it relates to that. Could also be challenging where you want to expand in terms of your long-term goals, friendships, and community. It feels like on Tuesday, though, there is this wrapping up of that. there are these realizations that kind of click in and you're taking action on them. Also on Tuesday, there could be something that challenges your ability to make changes you want to your work. It's kind of like maybe there's this emotional shift and focus on how you're viewing life, your perspective. And it's challenging what changes are taking place within your day-to-day work, your routine, maybe even your health, and how you're able to kind of focus on all of those things. Now that Venus is in your area of home, you might be a lot more focused on your home, and feeling this maybe sense of freedom within your home and kind of learning to cultivate that within yourself so that maybe you don't have to like do the things you thought you had to on the external to have that same feeling. Does that make sense? As we get into Wednesday, there is this big shift that occurs on Wednesday related to all of that later in the day on Wednesday. There's this big shift of your mindset. Maybe these were things that you were reevaluating and realizing during the Mercury retrograde in November. And there's this kind of aha moment on Wednesday about all of that. And there's this further clicking in, there's this further integration and embodiment of those things you reflected on, changing with your mindset and maybe even changing like who you go, where you go, and who you talk to on a daily basis as well. On Thursday, we have the full moon in your area of career in Gemini. So there could be some culmination, something that comes to fruition that you've been building over the last 6 months as it relates to what you're doing for work and really integrating these changes you're wanting to make there. But it also feels like there's this push and pull between balancing what's going on in your home or with family or childhood healing, as well as what's going on in your work and your career. Because work is maybe slowed down a little bit, but maybe to give you that time you need to reflect on your internal world and heal some just have some further cleanup there. But it does feel like there's this busyness that kind of returns to what you're doing for work. Maybe some new opportunities with this full moon as well related to what you're stepping into with that. But on Friday, it could feel like there's this emotional tension between where you're pulled in career and work and what's going on again with home and family. It's kind of like there's this balancing act that you're learning to make or have space for all week between the busyness maybe that's happening in your home or what's going on there and what's going on within your career emotionally. It's kind of like this tug of war between those two areas and learning how to balance all of it with what you're doing on a daily basis, where you're going, your errands, your routine, your schedule. As we get into Saturday, there's this energy of who and what is going to nurture you, what is going to support you in the ways that you need moving forward, to again kind of have these balances and have these things in your life that help you to navigate all of the changes that are occurring and maybe all of the expansion that is occurring in these different areas, like learning to really refine things, get clear about the things you need in order to just feel balanced instead of swept up by everything, whatever balance looks like to you. There could be a revelation or further integration of that as we get into Sunday, especially emotionally. It feels like this kind of like reprieve related to emotional healing and emotional health, and maybe really finding a groove with everything as we end out the week, and realizing what needs to be done in order to have this feeling of nurturance and support for yourself and have it really come from within. So that's the week ahead for you, Virgo. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Hi, Libra Rising. We start the week off with the moon in your area of relationships. There could be this emotional focus as we start out the week on relationships and what's going on there, maybe healing some further wounds that are being brought up, triggers that are being brought up within your relationships, and maybe ability to assert yourself as needed with people. That could also be challenging or conflicting the expansion that's going on in your career. It does feel like, though, there's this internal reflection on what you're what you're doing to expand your reputation or your career. It feels like there's things that you're reflecting on and wanting to make necessary changes to. So that's also a focus of this week, is kind of getting those downloads or getting that clarity about what needs to change, maybe about your day to day or what you're focused on a daily basis, to have the changes you want within your career. As we get into Tuesday, the emotional focus shifts into your area of vulnerability, your area of resources as well, money. So there could be a focus on that, maybe some cleanup work happening with debt or taxes or resources, investments, things like that, housing. It could also challenge what's going on in your creativity, your passion projects, maybe what's also going on with dating or romance. It feels like something with your resources or money could really challenge that in some way. Maybe you're just realizing like, okay, I thought I needed this much in order to support myself, and I'm actually realizing I want more. So there's a lot of kind of realizations and changes occurring the middle of the week around resources and money, maybe related to all of those career changes that are happening for you that you're taking action on as well, and learning to be a little bit more disciplined with. There could be revelations, though. If I haven't said this already, there could be revelations around all that on Wednesday. And really maybe even to what was a focus of refinement and reevaluation for you during Mercury retrograde as it relates to your money. It feels like there's big insights and breakthroughs that come later on Wednesday about all of those things and what to do moving forward. As we get into Thursday, we have the full moon in your area of perspective, in your area of long distance travel, as well as like how you're viewing life. So there could be this big culmination of shifting your perspective, shifting how you're kind of viewing the world around you related to your belief systems and your communication to yourself and to others about your life and your world. And maybe really realizing and integrating that you're the one that creates your reality. And this could have been something that's been building for you over the last 6 months of like work you've been doing around shifting your mindset, around shifting how you view life and changing your communication patterns in order to support that. And it feels like with this full moon, there's a big culmination of that energy and this big support of that towards where you're headed with work and what's changing there. As we get into Friday, there could be some tension between that and what's going on in your day to day, and maybe feel like what has to be taken care of on a daily basis for you, or like some errand you have to run or something you have to do in your day to day maybe challenges how you view life. And it's really an opportunity for you to further integrate that perspective shift that you realized you've been realizing you are making. There could also be on Friday something healing related to a wound that's been coming up in relationships as well. As we get into the weekend, the moon moves into your area of career. So there's a big emotional focus there. Maybe, again, kind of taking action on all these things you realized you want to change about work and career and money, and how to move forward with those things. It does feel like as we get into the weekend, there's this focus on an emotional drive towards nurturing this career venture, this how you're stepping more into expressing your creativity and like really aligning yourself with what is a creative passion for you and taking more action towards that. It feels like as we end out the week, there's a lot of emotional clarity that comes on what to do about that, how to move forward in a way that nurtures you and also nurtures the people that you're supporting with what you're doing and the changes that you're making to your career and your work and your money. So that is the week ahead for you, Libra. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Okay, Scorpio Rising. Hi. We start the week off with the moon moving over Chiron. Maybe triggering some emotional wounds within your work, within your health, within your maybe day-to-day schedule routine. But it does feel like whatever is triggered is ultimately challenging you to expand your perspective of life and really see things differently. It could also somehow benefit your money. Maybe if it's not even a direct way that that's happening, it's something that you might realize later, like, oh, that really helped my money in some way. Maybe it's sharing something new or creating something new to make more money, or stepping into something that is more aligned with you to have more money. Somehow it's supporting that, even if you might not see it right away. As we get into Tuesday, the moon is in your area of relationships. So that's where your emotional focus is, the middle of the week. There could be something within a relationship with somebody in your life. It doesn't matter your relationship with them, it's just somebody in your life could maybe emotionally trigger some sort of transformation you've been wanting to make to your home. It could feel like there's challenges between your relationships and what's going on in your home that you're wanting to change or make a transformation around. But I do feel like it's going to propel you into clarity around all of that and give you the answers you need in order to move forward. As we get into Wednesday, there's something maybe emotional tension with you and your relationships, and maybe this change you've made to your sense of self, your identity. With the Mercury retrograde all of November, it feels like there was a lot reflected on and refined about your sense of self, and maybe a transformation you've been in, especially as it relates to your mindset and how you're viewing the world around you. So there's something about a relationship that could put tension on that on Wednesday, so that you further integrate those realizations and those revelations that you've been reflecting on as it relates to how you view things, your mindset, um, maybe even like how you talk to yourself. And there could be some breakthroughs um, and aha moments, revelations around all of that later on Wednesday, and maybe this big emotional shift with a relationship, um, or like just relationship to yourself too, could shift because of this. As we get into Thursday, we have the full moon in Gemini in your area of resources. It feels like whatever goal you've had for the past 6 months with money, um, it could all come to a realization, could all come to a head. It could be illuminated at this time. Something about your resources could really come together for you with this full moon. You could get clarity around maybe how your mindset hasn't been helping you with resources, or what needs to change in your mindset to further help your money situation. It's like you're realizing you play a role in everything you experience in life, and you're realizing your alchemical power to change your life when you change how you view things and when you change your mind. So there could be big revelations around that with this full moon all Thursday. As we get into Friday, there could be some emotional tension between like what you realized earlier this week and what you need to take action on as it relates to that. But it does feel like in taking the action, even if there's challenges or tension emotionally in the background, it does feel like in taking that action, it's going to heal you, and it's going to create this ripple effect of positive change with your resources and money, and maybe even what you're doing for work. If you've been making changes there, wanting to kind of refine things and move in a new direction. As we get into the weekend, the moon moves into your area of perspective. So there's a lot of emotional clarity that you get as we end out the week on how you're viewing life. Again, it all comes down to your mindset and choosing to see things differently so that you experience things differently. So that is a big focus for you over the weekend, especially on Sunday. There could be some emotional clarity as it relates to all of that, and moving forward with this new perspective of life, and maybe new relationship with yourself related to that as well. So that's the week ahead for you, Scorpio. Let me know how it resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Hi, Sagittarius Rising. We start the week off with the moon over Chiron in your area of dating, romance, also creativity. So there could be something within a creative passion project or dating that maybe triggers something about an emotional identity you've had that you're shifting, that you're healing, and making these changes also to your sense of self. Like big identity shifts that are happening for you, and really closing out these old cycles of identity and how they've tied into these old patterns that no longer serve you. So there's a lot of revelations early in the week on what further needs integration and change there. As we get into Tuesday, the moon challenges Pluto in your area of communication and day-to-day errands. So there could be something about your daily routine that's changing, but there could be something on Tuesday that about your work that maybe challenges that, or your physical health or body that challenges what you're able to do in your day to day, where you're able to go, who you're able to talk to. So it feels like, again, it kind of all stems back to this old identity that just doesn't serve you anymore and you're moving on from in a big way. And there's everything that's kind of happening this week is showing you that, so that you step away from it and you step into the new. There could be some revelation about that on Wednesday that gives you clarity on how to further do that. How do I say that? What was going on for you with the Mercury retrograde? Because it was in your area of subconscious. So there's a lot of reevaluations with your inner worlds, with your maybe even past life stuff or childhood stuff, or things that have affected your mindset and your communication that have rippled out to everything else in your life, right? So this week is all about moving forward with those realizations and implementing the healing that you received from them, or that you realized you need to kind of focus on with them, and step into the new. Again, there's this big emphasis of stepping into the new. And so there could be breakthroughs or revelations around that as we later on Wednesday. As we get into Thursday, the moon moves into your area of relationships. You could be focused on relationships later in the week. There could be some culmination of a relationship in your life, maybe getting clarity or realization about it on Thursday with the full moon that's taking place in your area of relationships. This is every relationship in your life. This isn't just romantic. It could be, but it's also more so about what have you been changing within who you spend time around and who you talk to over the past 6 months, because that is all culminating right now. And there may be some things that you need to really let go of or release as it relates to the people you're spending time around, in order to be more selective and be more intentional with who you have in your life that really does support you and this new version of yourself that you're stepping into and have been stepping into. There's this need to really cleanse, so that you have this integrated identity, new identity. As we get into Friday, the moon adds tension to your area of you. So there could be something about a relationship that really challenges you to step into the new. It's like, are you really going to choose this new version of you, or are you going to fall back into old patterns? That's the energy on Friday. So just know there could be some emotional tension that kind of propels you into that realization on Friday, to really just stay rooted and firm in what you're stepping into that's different from who you have been in the past. Maybe taking some space before you act, to reflect on, do I want to act on this from my past, or do I want to act on this in the new version of me? As we get into the weekend, the moon moves into your area of resources. There could be this time to really go internal, maybe hermit, spend some time with yourself and focused on, what do I need to support myself, to nurture myself through all of these changes that are occurring within yourself and also rippling out to every other area of your life. Feels like too, especially on Sunday, there could be some revelations related to all of that with money, in your internal world, and how your maybe internal things are affecting money, or vice versa. But either way, there's a lot of like healing that kind of comes to a head over the weekend and further integrates, and feels like you get more clarity around it to embody and move forward. And that's the week ahead for you, Sagittarius. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Hi, Capricorn. We start the week off with the moon in your area of home. There could be some emotional wounds that are brought up on Monday in your area of home or family, that might trigger how you're wanting to expand within your relationships, or needing to feel really supported by your relationships. It's kind of like this tug of war, or these challenges and conflict between what's going on in your home and family, and what you need, and realizing your need within your relationships. As we get into Tuesday, there's an emotional focus on creative projects, passions. Maybe what happened on Monday kind of inspired you to create something, but it could also challenge what's going on with your money and changes that you are making there. On Wednesday, though, it feels like there's emotional breakthroughs related to all of that, and emotional clarity that comes around a creative passion or project, maybe dating, a romance as it applies. But there's like this integration also around a mindset shift related to all of that, maybe related to your long-term goals, visions, community, who you're spending time around, where you're going on a daily basis. If things have slowed down there, it's kind of you're realizing what you need in your day-to-day to really feel supported and to feel nurtured, and to have this shift in energy that's going to maybe inspire more creative stuff in you that you've been wanting to do or take action on. As we get into Thursday, there's this illumination in your area of work, um, and physical health as well. So there could be this revelation related to how to balance or support your physical and mental health in maybe ways that you have been wanting to do or building routines around over the past 6 months. And it kind of all culminates with this full moon in your area of work and health on Thursday. But there could be something on Friday that puts tension on your ability to take action on whatever you're realizing you need to do or want to do to make changes. So there could be this push and pull between what you have to do for work or to take care of your body and maybe what you need to do or want to do to make changes to what's going on that you're realizing you want to make. Does that make sense? It's like you want to take action on this new thing or from this new place, but there's also this pull to something else in your life that needs attention as well. On Friday is kind of a conflicting day, but it does feel like it's going to propel you into healing whatever this is, even if it kind of seems counterintuitive to that. And as we get into the weekend, there's a big focus emotionally on your relationships, on relationships that nurture and support you. I mean, there's a lot of expansion in terms of who's around you and who you have in your community, who you have in your day to day, and it's just really important you kind of approach these things and what's changing there, maybe what's moving there, like what's feels really expansive with, does this nurture me? Does this support me? Is this what the kind of relationship I want to have with whoever it is, or are these the kind of people I want to have around me, kind of thing? It's like looking at it with the lens of, does this really nurture and support how I've changed and where I'm headed? And there's a need to get really kind of honest with yourself about that, especially on Sunday, as there is the emotional focus of getting disciplined and committed to what's going to nurture you, what's going to help inspire you, and what's going to move you forward towards where you're headed with your life and what you're realizing you want to change about your life moving forward. So that's your week ahead, Capricorn. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Hi, Aquarius Rising. We start the week off with the moon on Chiron in your area of communication and day-to-day travel and routines. There could be something that is triggered about that on Monday. Maybe it kind of triggers health or work in some way. It's kind of like, where have you been expanding within your work or within how you take care of your health and your physical body, and maybe what wounds are coming up in your day-to-day related to an identity. Like, it almost feels like you want to make changes in your work or career, but there's this kind of identity that you have with what you have been doing for the past maybe 6 years that's holding you back from stepping into this new area or this new field that is really actually meant for you, that your soul's been calling you to. But there's a lot of identity fears wrapped around that. So that's going to be a theme on Monday, is looking at those emotionally and clearing them out if you really wish to move in this new direction. As we get into Tuesday, the moon moves into your area of home and family, so you could be emotionally focused on those things, but it could also challenge a transformation that's happening within your sense of self, within your identity, and that really you're wanting to make in every other area of your life. As we get into Wednesday, there could be emotional revelations or breakthroughs you get around home and family related to career as well. It does feel like there's tension from your home or family on what's going on in career. Like they're tied together and they're kind of like in a tug of war. But whatever you were reflecting and realizing during the Mercury retrograde in November in your area of career, like it's time to take forward action on that. It's time to move forward with what you realized you want to do. And there could be revelations you get on Wednesday that kind of help you to do that, even if it feels like there's tension around it. Then as we get into Thursday, we have the full moon in Gemini in your area of creative passions, of romance, dating as well, children, if that applies. There could be these revelations of what's been building for you over the past 6 months related to all of that, and maybe finally sharing these ideas you've had about this new creative project or passion or venture, because it's going to support these changes you're making with your money. So it's all kind of tied in together. And you might already know that of like, okay, I need to act on this because this is kind of a once in a lifetime thing that's happening for you to make these do these new projects, share these new things, change what you're doing for money, change what you're doing for work. There's a lot of momentum towards all of that right now. And there especially could be as we end out the week. But on Friday, feels like whatever you're emotionally focused on within your creative passions and projects, there's tension on your ability to act on it as it relates to what's going on with your community or social media or your long-term goals and visions, kind of like this, again, this tug of war between what you want to do and your ability to act on it. Maybe there's something kind of challenging your ability to act on it. Could be money related, could be belief related. It's kind of like needing to have faith and take the leap that it's all going to work out, because it's what you're led to do. And every time we're led to do something, it's for a reason, and we will be supported through it. So as we end out the weekend, you could get that realization of like, okay, this is actually going to support me moving forward. This is actually what I want to be doing, even if it's scary to step out and do something different and new. There is not only excitement in that, but there is going to be support for you through that. So that's your week ahead, Aquarius. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Hi, Pisces Rising. We start the week off with the moon on Chiron in your area of money. There could be some big emotional money wounds that come up for you on Monday, maybe tied to an old identity and really stepping into a new version of yourself, releasing the old. So you can have these changes in your life and what you want to do with your creative gifts and passions, and start this new chapter and this new beginning and have nothing from the old remaining within you. As we get into Tuesday, the moon moves into your area of day-to-day travel, routines, errands. It challenges what's going on in your area of the subconscious. So there could be some emotional conflict between where you go on a daily basis, who you talk to, and what's going on maybe in your subconscious that's changing and transforming as well. So there could be some more wounds that are brought up around that on Tuesday, that for you to further integrate and embody, again, this new version of yourself that you've really been stepping into this whole year, really over the past 2 to 3 years. And that's all kind of culminating right now. As we get into Wednesday, there could be a breakthrough around that related to like your communication within yourself, maybe again related to money and needing to make this really big perspective shift and see things differently and communicate things differently within your head, with how you talk to yourself, with how you talk to others about money or things that you're doing, changes that you're making. There's a big energy towards breakthroughs and revelations related to that on Wednesday. Then as we get into Thursday, we have the full moon in Gemini in your area of home or family. There could be something that comes to fruition around home or family. Maybe you like really solidify in a new home, or maybe something really heals or shifts within family dynamic or something like that. Something maybe from your childhood that's been coming up to heal as well. It could be related to a physical home, like buying a home, securing a new home, something related to that as well. But on Friday, it does feel like there could be emotional tension between what's going on in your home and something in your career that you're wanting to take action on, wanting to do, wanting to move forward with. It could also really challenge the identity shifts that are coming up for you and propel you to further really be committed to and dedicated to, disciplined with the new identity and version of yourself that you're stepping into, because it's going to positively affect everything else in your life. Maybe there's support that needs to come in or will come in through a relationship to be able to have this solid foundation of this new identity as well. As we get into the weekend, the moon moves into your area of creative passions and projects. So there could be a lot of inspiration that comes as we get into the weekend over what you want to do, how you want to move forward, and maybe also helps you to further integrate what about yourself in your perspective of life that has been healing and further supports you in stepping into this new identity that has been building over the past few years. So, I'm so excited for you in Pisces. I'm so excited for you, Pisces, for this week ahead as we end out the week. Yeah, so let me know how that resonates for you in the comments. Let me know what comes up as we end out the week, especially on Sunday, because that's a big day. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.